Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I want to tell you about all the best stuff that Netflix is adding in September 2020. So if you're new here, welcome to the show. Be sure to click that subscribe button if you like this type of content. But for the format of this particular video, I'm going to be telling you about all the most interesting stuff that Netflix is adding in September, starting with the first. They add the most stuff then we're going to go through the rest of the month in chronological order, stopping to spend a little more time talking about the most interesting projects coming to Netflix. And this is going to include new Netflix originals as well as some older classic movies and some hidden gems you probably have not seen. This video is sponsored by CyberGhost VPN. If you're in a different country or you're in the US and you just want to find and access more movies with your current Netflix subscription, they're going to be able to help you do that, and I'll tell you more about that after we cover everything getting added on the first. So let's start off with Adrift. This movie's based on a true story about a couple caught on a boat in a hurricane. I heard this was good. I never saw it, but I heard it was good enough that I'll definitely be checking it out in early September. Anaconda is somewhat of a 90s classic featuring the talents of Jennifer Lopez, Ice Cube, Owen Wilson, Jon Voight, and it's just kind of a crazy monster movie about anacondas. If you never saw it, it's, I think, a lot of fun. A little dopey, a little silly, a little dated, but still just kind of a fun movie to watch if you're in the mood for that sort of thing. Barbershop is a good classic comedy from the early 2000s, again featuring Ice Cube. And then Coneheads is a not so good comedy from the late 90s that does not feature Ice Cube. The Hangover and Joker director Todd Phillips did a so-so comedy with Robert Downey Jr. and Zach Galifianakis called Due Date. This is a road trip movie. It's funny enough. Wasn't great enough for me to watch more than once, but if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of anybody involved, it's worth watching on Netflix. One of the better classic movies they're adding this month is Glories from 1989, and it is one of the best movies about the Civil War ever made. This is one of Denzel Washington's earlier roles, which he did win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and it is about a regiment of black soldiers in the Civil War. Very, very good stuff. Another classic that I've just never personally been a fan of is Grease, but I'm sure there are enough of you watching who do like Grease that makes it worth at least mentioning here. They're also adding Magic Mike, which is better than you think. It's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who is a fantastic director. This is more than just a male version of Showgirls or something like that. But it is skippable, especially if any of the guys watching are maybe concerned about having some rogue feelings while watching it. It's not the greatest thing ever, but it is surprisingly good. The Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted are the two reboots from 2011 and 2014. They're fun enough, packed with celebrities, fun kind of singing, dancing stuff for the kids. It's nostalgic for people my age and a little older because it is the Muppets, it's legit Muppets, but then it is sort of updated for a younger audience, so something kind of fun to watch with the family this month. Not another teen movie gets added. This one really is just funny because Chris Evans is in it. He's a big superstar now, but there are funnier movies on this list, like Pineapple Express.
No, I think we should stay. Why? So I'm in the dumpster already.
It was just featured on my Bloody Movies on Prime Video, which I'll put a link to that in the description below, but it's immediately jumping to Netflix already, which means it likely will be leaving Prime Video. Puss in Boots is great fun to watch with the kids, even if the title sounds like it's not for kids, like at all. But most of you probably know this is a spin-off from Shrek. Those movies they're just clever, fun, and entertaining enough for adults without being totally inappropriate for kids. Red Dragon is from 2002, and it is a prequel to Silence of the Lambs. It does feature Anthony Hopkins, but this is actually based on a book that features Hannibal Lecter, and Michael Mann directed what I consider to be a much better version in the 80s based on the same book called Manhunter. Now, Red Dragon is a really well-produced movie. I just don't find it to be as good as the Manhunter version. Sex Drive is a pretty funny teen sex comedy, but I wouldn't think it'd be funny enough for some of my more sophisticated viewers. It is very lowbrow humor, but in that genre, they did a pretty damn good job with it. Boss Baby, Get That Baby is a new interactive special. If you have not done these interactive specials with your kids where you get to choose between options along the way, It's kind of a choose your own adventure thing. It's just something fun and different to do rather than just watching the same old thing. The Producers, the 2005 version gets added. This is a comedy musical. It stars Uma Thurman, Matthew Broderick, and it's based on the Broadway play. There is an original movie that is much better, but this one is more in line with the Broadway play, which was a huge, huge hit back in the early 2000s. And then finally on the 1st, they add the Smurfs. This is the sort of live action / animated version from 2011. They're also adding Smurfs 2 all the way back on the 15th, so you can watch the first one on the 1st and then wait 2 weeks and watch the sequel. I don't know why they're doing that, but it doesn't really matter. Now that said, if there's anything on this list that's maybe not going to be available in your country, or if there's anything leaving Netflix, which I will include when we're done with all the stuff coming to Netflix, you may want to invest in a VPN service. Now, a VPN service like CyberGhost does protect your web browsing. It makes it secure. It helps protect you from identity theft, as well as just basic government surveillance, which is a thing that we live with now. In addition to that, though, they have specialized servers for Netflix in different countries. By choosing one of those servers, you then immediately have access to everything on Netflix in that country with your current subscription. Some of the great things about CyberGhost include a 45-day money-back guarantee, which means if you just don't like using it or find that you're not taking advantage of it, you can cancel it. And they have great 24/7 customer support if you need any help getting it set up on your devices. Speaking of that, you can use it on up to 7 devices simultaneously, and it's all the types of devices that you're used to using. Use the link in the description below to sign up, and you can pay as low as $2.75 a month. That's less than $3 a month, less than a movie rental, to access way more movies by jumping around on the different servers. I love it. The service pairs greatly with the type of content I have here. If you've been hemming and hawing over it and you're getting bored during the quarantine, you're running out of stuff to watch because they're not releasing as much stuff as usual, definitely give it a shot. Try it for at least a month and you can get your money back. It's well worth it in my opinion. That said, let's move on to September 2nd. They're adding a new Netflix original that is German language. It's called Freaks, You're One of Us. Now, they already have a movie on Netflix called Freaks that I've talked about and I really enjoyed. This one is about a fry cook who discovers that she has superpowers and then discovers like a government conspiracy and stuff. It looks interesting. It looks like the type of thing I will be watching. And if it ends up being a great recommendation, it will surely be on future videos. Love Guaranteed is a rom-com that's a Netflix original movie. Certainly not my cup of tea, but if you do like sort of your boilerplate romantic comedies, this certainly looks like it's one of those. If that's the type of entertainment you're into, chances are you're gonna dig this movie. It looks like it's a decent version of, your standard rom-com. On the 4th, Away is a new Netflix original series starring Hilary Swank, and it's about space exploration. The initial trailer and footage for it looks really good. It looks like it's almost up there with, a big sci-fi movie. Definitely looks like one of the more interesting new series to come to Netflix this month. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is a new Netflix original movie written and directed by Charlie Kaufman, who is famous for writing a ton of great movies like Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But he has only directed a couple of movies, and the movies he directs are even weirder than the ones that he only writes. I expect this one to be really bizarre. It also has a good cast led by Jesse Plemons, who is one of the more interesting actors working today. So cannot speak to whether this one will be good for mass audiences, but I'm definitely interested in it.
Could be worse.
It couldn't be any worse.
Put your hands in the air!
I was wrong. Now it couldn't be any worse.
Matthew?
Wow, wrong again.
Take Me Home Tonight is a surprisingly good cocaine-fueled party movie. I remember when this came out, it looked like it was going to be just sort of a dumb movie for teenagers. Not the case. This is an adult-oriented movie, and it is funny. It's got some really great cast members that just bring a lot of life into it, and it punches way above its weight. In its sort of class of these sort of like midnight movies that tend to sort of fade in the background, there may be funny once. This one's better. It's not Caddyshack level or anything, but it's surprisingly good. Now, September 7th brings a movie that I've liked for the last few years called Midnight Special. This is directed by the same guy who did Mud, which is also on Netflix, one of my favorite movies on Netflix right now. And in this one, Michael Shannon is trying to sort of run away with his son. They're traveling across the country trying to escape a religious cult, but the boy appears to have these really wild superpowers. I don't want to say any more than that. That's about as much as the trailer reveals, but I can tell you I very much enjoyed this. It's a very different kind of sci-fi movie. It's got a different feel to it, but it's got some really incredible moments in it. If you want to watch sort of a hidden gem that you likely have not seen, that's got a great cast and that is just plain interesting, I highly recommend Midnight Special. Now, if you don't have enough to be mad about lately, Waiting for Superman is about the state of the education system in America. Now, this is several years old. I say several, it's 10 years old. And we still have the same problems today. There are a couple of documentaries in this vein. Another one is called The Cartel, about people hoarding money with inside the education system. That one is good as well, but I remember Waiting for Superman not just being interesting, but being very informative as well. So again, don't have enough to be mad about? Watch this movie, you're gonna be pissed. Especially if you have kids. Now, September 9th brings two titles that I will definitely be skipping. So one of them involves a major, not scandal, but major controversy about a French language documentary featuring girls in a dance competition. Now, the controversy is that, as benign as that sounds, Netflix decided to release this poster for this show, and a lot of people were pissed because this looks like some low-frequency pedophile bait, and I have to agree. This is pretty awful. Apparently, Netflix said that they've removed all of that artwork from the promotional material and replaced it with this. Very different tone, regardless of what this is about. I don't think I'll be watching it. And the same goes for the new Reese Witherspoon home makeover show, Get Organized with the Home Edit. Don't really care about that, mainly because I find celebrities like Reese Witherspoon, even though I do like them on the big screen, I find them to be really weird and out of touch. She definitely falls into that category, kind of a Gwyneth Paltrow type thing, and it just, I don't know, something about it skeeves me out. So I'm gonna be skipping that show, but if you're in need of sort of organizing your home or making some changes, it may be a good one to watch. Now on the 10th, they're adding The Babysitter, Killer Queen, which is a sequel to The Babysitter, which is a Netflix original horror movie that I enjoyed enough. It has made it onto several lists of mine. It's bright, it's colorful, it's bloody, it's a little bit silly. The sequel does not look great, mainly because they're not bringing back Samara Weaving, who was the best part of the original, but they're somehow bringing back everyone else, despite the fact that most of these people didn't make it out of the first one. Maybe they'll make it work. Maybe it'll be just weird enough that it's fun and enjoyable. It could also be just weird enough that it's really kind of dumb and hard to watch. I don't know, but I'll be checking it out and I'll be letting you know at some point on the channel. September 11th, they add How to Train Your Dragon 2. Fantastic movie. I love watching these with my son, not just because he loves dragons, but the concept of these movies is very interesting to me. I love the style of them. If you want to watch the newest one, which I believe is the third one, it's available on Hulu currently. And then Hope Frozen, A Quest to Live Twice. Sounds like a heartbreaking documentary about a scientist trying to freeze his young daughter who died so that she can later be unfrozen. Sounds heart-wrenching. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to handle it, but if I do hear good things about it, I'll at least preview it and check it out. Still here on the 15th, they're adding the Taco Chronicles. It looks like a delicious docu-series. And these are not the basic bitch box tacos that I know most of us are cooking at home. These look amazing. A lot of it is probably going to be in Spanish, but I'll be checking it out just to get some taco ideas because COVID or no COVID, we could always use taco ideas. The 16th adds a docuseries about the Challenger explosion, about things going wrong leading up to the launch and the explosion. If you're much younger than me, you probably don't know too much about the Challenger space shuttle, which exploded immediately after liftoff. It was a heartbreaking national tragedy when it occurred, and this series looks like it may have some conspiratorial elements. I don't know how heavy they're going to push on that, but it looks interesting, and I'm certainly interested in it, so I will be watching it. And then the big one of the month, the movie they're most proud of, is called The Devil All the Time. this has a huge cast. Honestly, too many names for me to mention, but it's actually from a really great director who did a couple of smaller movies a lot of you probably missed. He did a very small movie called Simon Killer, which is currently available on Netflix, as well as one that got a little more notoriety called Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, about a cult. And The Devil All the Time, it looks like it takes place in the South. It's kind of this post-war era thing. It looks very dark. If anything, the trailer looks like there's too much going on in it for it to work well. However, I do expect it to be pretty good. I'll be watching it and reviewing it. I will be watching it, and I will certainly be posting a review for channel members. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, the join button, click it, check out the details, see if it's for you, but there's already a bunch of content over there, and I know there will be a review of this, as well as some other things Netflix is adding in September, available for channel members after the stuff gets released. Ratched Season 1 is about Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It looks odd. It's got a weird style to it. This is from a very famous producer who was behind Glee, and American Horror Story, and a bunch of other stuff. But actress Sarah Paulson, who is one of the best people working today, is playing Nurse Ratched. It looks really good. I'm not really sure what the tone of this is going to be yet, but I'm definitely going to be checking it out. The 23rd, they're adding another Netflix original movie that I'm very interested in. It's called Enola Holmes. This has a good cast, including Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things, who is playing Enola Holmes, a relative of Sherlock Holmes. Henry Cavill has a role in this, and it looks good. It's probably for kids and families, or at least older kids, but I love Sherlock Holmes stuff. This looks well produced. I'm at least interested in it. It looks like it'll be one of the better Netflix original films to come out in September. But if that's not your cup of tea, maybe you live alone, maybe you're still a bachelor or a bachelorette. Waiting is a pretty funny Ryan Reynolds movie featuring Justin Long and some other cast members that are really great. I remember this being funny when it came out. I wouldn't put it on the same level as a movie like Clerks. It didn't have the cultural impact of something like Clerks, but it's similar in a lot of ways, just in terms of the type of movie that it is. I would imagine anybody that has spent any amount of time waiting tables in their life has seen this movie. If you haven't, this is probably a must-watch for you. On the 24th, they add Real Steal, which features Hugh Jackman training a giant robot to fight. It's not as good as it sounds, but it is still pretty good, especially as like a family movie. He's taking his estranged son along for this road trip with him, and they're winning these boxing matches and stuff. The graphics look good. It's fun enough for maybe slightly older kids, like around age 10. In fact, 10-year-old boys are going to eat this movie up. They're going to love it. So it's a good recommendation in that respect, but if you're sitting at home on a Friday night alone, I don't know that this is going to do it for you. Welcome to Sudden Death gets added on the 29th. This is a sequel to a 90s Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, except this one stars Michael Jai White. This is going to be for fight movie people only. It's that type of movie, I can already tell. If you love some fight movies and you love deep cut fight movies, get jacked for this one, because even if it's not good, you're probably still going to love it. But if you don't like those types of movies, you could go ahead and forget this one even exists, because I do not think it's made for anybody else. Now, here's everything leaving in the month of September. If you're new here, you need to know the date in yellow is the date that it leaves, which means you need to watch it before then. Do not mark it on your calendar to watch it that day, because you'll wake up and it will be gone. But if there's anything you've been interested to watch that you see here, pause the screen and check it out before that date, or check out the CyberGhost link below, because odds are when these leave the US or wherever they currently are, because sometimes they're in multiple countries at once, they will be available in other places and in other countries. While we're rolling some credits by, let's also thank the Patreon supporters. Here are my biggest supporters. If you are interested in becoming a supporter, there's a Patreon link in the description below, and there's also a link to become a channel member. There are two different ways, there's different perks. Check them out, see which one's for you, but however you choose to support the show, I much appreciate it. I will keep making videos like this as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking out this episode, and you will see me on the next one.